Good evening. I'd like to call this December 4th meeting of the Hampton City School Board to order. Ms. Bowers, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Harper?
Here.
Ms. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Kilgore?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Mugler?
Here. Let the record show that all the school board members are present, along with our division superintendent, Dr. Linda Shiflett, our school board attorney, Ms. Nancy Reeves, and our school board clerk, Ms. Carolyn Bowers. Also along with us tonight is our student liaison, Mr. Ray Bolton, and I'm going to turn things over to her.
Good evening, everyone. Our invocation this evening will be given by Carrie White, a 7th grade student at Eaton Middle School.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Inspiration. Inspiration is the key to our hearts. Inspiration comes from our hearts and mind and soul. Creating words, creating activities, and other things that's in our minds. Just like freedom on our USA flag. We can capture the moment on paper, video, or in a picture. Inspiration is the Key by Amanda Henson. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Why don't you come back up to the mic so I can ask you just a few questions so that everyone can get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
What's your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Why do you like math?
I like dealing with numbers and just adding them together.
And I hear that you're pretty good at some instruments. What instruments do you play?
Piano, drums, and organ.
Do you have a favorite
Saxophone.
song? Do you have a favorite song you like to play?
Amazing Grace.
And what would you like to be when you grow up?
A pastor.
Well, and I see you brought some family with you this evening. Would you like to introduce them?
Well, this is my dad, my sister, and my mom. Yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for coming and for sharing with us, and we totally wish you the best in your school year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Would you like to introduce, I think maybe, is your principal here?
Yes. And there's Mr. Hudson, the principal of Eaton Middle School. My sensible and the sensible assistant principal of Eaton, Miss Kena. Good job.
Thank you. We have the pleasure this evening of being entertained by the Hampton City Schools Steel Drum Ensemble. So at this time, I'll call those folks up to the stage. They're led this evening by Jackie Warren of Davis Middle School. And we have students, I think, tonight from Bethel and Hampton High Schools. Lorenzo Tinsley. I guess we can guess which one that is. Asaya Ruffin. And Kayla Jones from Bethel. thank you so much. I think we're all in the mood now.
Ms. Buckley,
Yes, Mr. Harper?
I just got to say, guys, Rudolph, never heard it played like that. That was great. Lorenzo, you carrying that bottom, my man. You got all the bass with you, and you're doing. And ma'am, you've done a great job. It's real good to see kids do positive things, and it just warms my heart.
Only a small section of the new Steel Drum Ensemble. We just held auditions 2 weeks ago. We actually have 21 members this year.
Oh, great. Victor. Oh, wow.
All right.
Great.
Way to go.
She was feeling it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking time out to come and play for us tonight. We really enjoyed that. Also tonight with us are our curriculum leaders for fine arts. We have Vivian Greasy and Mr. Kelly D. Y'all stand up. Thank you. While they're taking down, I will just give a quick intro to our Executive Director of Marketing and Public Relations, Ms. Diana Galata, and she'll be assisted this evening by Mrs. Phyllis Henry from our school board, and they will be doing some student and faculty recognitions tonight. They're so portable.
After that, are we supposed to dance?
I can say that after seeing something like that, it makes me very proud to work here. That was great, but it's a very hard act to follow, for sure. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Ms. Beth Mayer. She is our coordinator of athletics and driver's education. She's going to present a few awards and be assisted by Ms. Henry.
Good evening. We have three recognitions tonight. We're going to begin with the Kecoughtan High School Warriors. They, each varsity team selected a teammate that demonstrated true sportsmanship throughout the season. And we have the fall sports and the people that won the sportsmanship award. So let's start with field hockey. Come on up when I call your name. Emma Field. And the coach, Jennifer Delph. Kyle Apgar, boys volleyball, Coach Dean Epps. Danielle Kidd, girls volleyball, Coach Gail Clinch. Chris Brooks, football, Coach Alonzo Coley. Perry Barber, Jr., golf, Coach Brett Wheeler. Jasmine Madison, girls cross country, Coach Ed Ritchie. Quentin Tucker, boys cross country, Coach Ed Ritchie. Ariel Overton, cheerleading, Coach Nicole Wheeler. I'd like to congratulate them on probably the highest award that I think you can get in Hampton City Schools, is a sportsmanship award.
I'm going to let Ms. Mayer sort those out while I say something about these wonderful young people. In another life, I was a high school principal, and I used to tell coaches, I want kids that I'm proud of. It's nice to win, that's an extra. But these children have done everything we asked them to do to represent their school in the best possible way, and we're very, very proud of you. I think Beth is going to let them figure it out.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you all very much. Congratulations.
A part of that, each season, Kecoughtan will elect sportsmanship awards. So we'll see the winter sportsmanship awards in the spring. And that's all part of our ongoing program at Hampton City School Athletics, is to get sportsmanships throughout the city. And to bring into the next honor is the Bethel High School. out of 300, and I think 30 high schools in the state of Virginia, only 25 got this award. It's the Claudia Dotson Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award for the programs that they've instilled at Bethel and the community. So if I could get Ray Smith, the athletic director at Bethel High School, Tim Cason, the assistant principal, and all the Bethel coaches that happen to be here, and any students that would be here. Come on up. This award is described by Ken Tilley, who's the executive director of the Virginia High School League, as the most prestigious award that is given by the Virginia High School League. It shows that member schools have established policies and procedures that make sportsmanship a priority and expectation within the school and the community. And I want to give this was given by the Virginia High School League to Ray Smith and the Bethel Bruins, and it's a plaque from Wells Fargo. There you go, Mr. Smith.
Congratulations to all you gentlemen and to all the Bruins that you represent. I was around for a long time and didn't see this award given out very often. And this is the second one recently that Hampton City Schools has won. And the Bethel Bruins not only play hard and do well on the court and on the field, but they work in the community and do an awful lot of extra things as role models and to reach out to the community. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with this. And we appreciate your being good examples and encouraging that behavior in our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd just like to add that there's also a Stay in the Game award, and that's for schools that have no ejections. And I'd like to congratulate Kecoughtan on having no ejections this past year. There were over 600 in the state of Virginia, and that was two-thirds of the schools. 92 did not have any ejections, and there were 72 coaches' ejections, and I'm pleased to say that no one from our division had any. So that's always a good thing.
Wait a minute, gentlemen. I'm being remiss. I need to add the congratulations, not just of the Virginia High School League, but of the school board to this. So this Hampton City School Board congratulates Bethel High School for winning the Claudia Dodson Wells Fargo Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award. And this is signed by our chairman, Mrs. Mugler, and our superintendent. We're very proud of it.
Thank you.
The final recognition is for the Bethel High School literary magazine Polaris. The magazine has won first place in the Literary Arts Magazine category at the Virginia High School League Championship. The magazine, which competed with other school publications from across the state, was judged on categories that include functional aspects of the magazine, layout and design, literary selections, art selections, and general areas, including creativity, cover design, originality, and budget. Would the magazine staff and club sponsor please come up to the stage? The magazine staff consists of editor Graydon Weber, assistant editor Kayla Halston, layout Regine Henderson, staff Corey Mason, Trevor Motley, Elizabeth Clay, Bree Taylor, and Casey Grant. The club sponsor is Miss Tracy Rice Weber.
This is a copy of the
Yes, it is. We brought it for you.
Oh, how wonderful. We'll all look at it. The hard part of this is to get your classmates to contribute, too. That's the editing is one thing, but getting people to contribute to the magazine is an even harder job. A lot of people don't realize that the Virginia High School League is not just about sports, but every other kind of interscholastic competition. And first place is the state championship. So let's give them a big hand, please. Hampton City School Board congratulates Bethel High School, first place in the literary magazine category at the Virginia High School League Championship, and here it is, Polaris 2013. Thank you very much. Would you like to say something about this?
Thank you, Beth. Good job. Next, we would like to recognize our staff members who've been chosen to pilot the one-to-one initiative for Hampton City Schools. As you know, thanks to the generosity of the Hampton City Council, we are transforming student learning and will be placing some type of mobile device in the hands of our 5th and 7th grade students beginning next school year. Dr. Pat Leary, Executive Director of Elementary School Leadership, has led this effort and has a few more words to say about those staff members who've been selected to participate in the upcoming pilot. Dr. Leary?
Thank you. This is such an exciting evening. You know, we've been planning, our work team has been working since midsummer on just this particular part of our journey. And it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce to you and welcome the Road Warriors who've agreed to join us on this amazing journey that we're getting ready to take part in. Tonight we are kicking off phase 1 of the pilot program that will fundamentally change the way our children learn and the way we teach in Hampton City Schools. The work team has been researching and learning all that we can about this project so that we make sure we do things the way they need to be done on behalf of our children. We've had extensive conversations among ourselves and have made a presentation here to the board and the city council, so our intentions are clear, and we know that we want our students to use technology to accomplish both basic and complex tasks, to solve problems, do creative work, and collaborate in teams. In this role, the teachers becomes the guide and works with students individually as well as in small groups in order to personalize learning. The device becomes the educational tool, and our focus remains on learning. A couple of weeks ago, we invited all 5th and 7th grade teachers and the elective and resource teachers who work with 5th and 7th grade students to complete a survey on philosophy and beliefs about learning and the use of technology. The teacher selection team worked diligently to review all the responses and selected a representative sample of teachers, general ed, special education, resource, and electives teachers. And here tonight are the 53 teachers who are beginning this journey with us. Will the teachers please stand and be recognized? Thank you so much for being here. Another critical component to the success of this journey is the support of the school-based administrators. And I can't tell you how critical that is to the success for students as well as for these teachers. So at this time, will the administrators who are here in support of their teachers please stand? Isn't that awesome? The work team has, as I said, have been working diligently. I think there are a couple members of the work team here this evening, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you all to please stand and be recognized. It's not everybody, but if you're on this work team with me, will you please stand at this time? Yeah. And I'd just like to give a special recognition to Sean Holleran, the principal at Cooper, who's been working diligently to spearhead the teacher selection process. I think you all received several emails and communications from him, so you know he's been busy. So thank you for your work with that. Next week, the teachers will begin their professional learning for this pilot. There are 2 sessions before winter break, 2 after winter break. We'll also be providing information to our elementary and middle school principals at their upcoming December meetings. Parents and students will also have learning session opportunities. There are 4 consecutive Wednesdays in January, and parents and students will select one of those to attend. I'm asking you to mark your calendar now for February 1st, 2014, because teachers in the pilot will be conducting lessons for parents and students on this day at Sims Middle School, and students who are able to attend with their parent will be able to take their device home that day. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. The purpose of this pilot is to, it's going to be great. Okay, so nobody checked their calendar when I sent you the date? This pilot's intent is to collect data and information, make adjustments, and do the things we need to do to get the pilot right so that when we roll this out full scale for all 5th and 7th graders in September, we have tweaked as much of it as we know to tweak. So we appreciate your willingness to be a part of that and to take this journey with us. We know that we don't know all the answers right now, but together we are absolutely going to figure all of that out. And so I thank you for your time and your devotion to your children and your interest in trying a new way of learning and teaching. So once again, if you all would join me in congratulating this wonderful group of educators. Are you going to speak? I won't dismiss them until after you speak. I'll dismiss them.
Okay. Well, wanted to thank Ms. Leary, who's been having a lot of fun with this, and Mr. Eagle and Ms. Grobel back there, who keep all the technology humming. And congratulations for being willing to be guinea pigs. You know, it sounds like you're getting a present, but let's see, 4 days around Christmas break. That's before end of the semester. There's nothing going on in your lives at that time, is there? No. And you're going to have fun all day Saturday with it. Yes. Okay. Well, the school board is so excited that the city council, thanks to the support of our community, provided the money for us to initiate this exciting adventure for all of our students. And the committee with Mr. Holleran and all of you who have worked on this work team are trying to do it so that we don't stumble around doing it, and we do it right for our children next fall. So thank you for doing all the hard work. It's easy after somebody's figured out how to do it, and you're the somebody who's going to figure that out. So thank you so much for being willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. And there is a really good bonus to the end of your day here today, because at this time, if you'll go to the library, the technology people will be there to give you your device.
Very exciting.
What happens when you drop one way over?
Congratulations to all of our student athletes tonight and our students that were recognized for the Literary Arts Magazine Award, as well as our teachers who were recognized tonight. We're going to pause for like 2 minutes to let things clear out, and then we'll start off with our consent agenda. Okay.
Are you getting lightheaded? You need something to eat really? You want me to go get you something? Some chips or something?
I'm good.
I don't want you to pass out.
I'm done.
Your blood sugar's okay. I might pass out.
If you do that.
What do you think one of these ones is? It's one of two things.
Carolyn,
We can't get up here and talk
got
about
any
that
cookies?
one.
Got any cookies?
Please don't free to talk about either thing.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, he can't talk about either of those incidents. But we stop. If he brings in anybody's name. I'm assuming that's great. I don't know. He just wants to hear himself talk. Is he?
All right, while things are simmering down out there, we do have one more student group that we would like to recognize tonight. I'm going to let Dr. Shiflett do the honors.
Thank you. We have a very special group of young people in the audience tonight. They're very special to me. They're led by Mrs. Penny Peterson, and it is the Superintendent's Advisory Board. And would you all please stand? You know, whenever you really need good feedback, you always go to your students because they give me such honest dialogue. And I am so very happy to have such a great group of young people to advise us on things that affect young people. And so I was delighted when you were able to come to the board meeting tonight so that all of our board members could get a chance to see you. If we could, just very quickly, could you just stand up and say your name and your school? Now, you've never been shy before. Where? Speak loudly.
Farhad, I'm a senior at Kickotan. I am Robert Peabody, also a senior at Kickotan. Hello everyone, I'm Gaiman Jones, also a senior at
I'm Allie Olney, a senior at Kickotan.
So I want to thank all of you for being here, not only for being here tonight, but for being there for me whenever I needed the voice of the youth. And Ms. Peterson, thank you so very much for helping to sponsor this group. Thank you.
Thank you all for being with us tonight. We'll move on to our consent agenda, which consists of items 4.01 through 4.07. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Smith and seconded by Mrs. Phillips that we approve tonight's consent agenda, which consists of Personnel Report 13-21, the minutes of the school board retreat of November 6, 2013, as well as the minutes of the school board meeting from November 6, 2013, minutes of the school board meeting of November 13, 2013, and minutes of the work session of November 13, 2013, as well as a certification of the closed session of November 6, 2013, and field trips. Ms. Bowers, is there any discussion? Ms. Bowers, would you call for the vote?
Ms. Henry?
Aye.
Mr. Kilgore?
Aye.
Mr. Pearson?
Aye.
Ms. Phillips?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Harper?
Aye.
Ms. Mugler?
Aye, motion carries. We move on to superintendent and staff reports, and I will turn things over to Dr. Shiflett.
Thank you, Ms. Mugler. Our first report this evening actually concludes our academic core area reports, and tonight we'll be having the science update. Dr. Johnson?
Good evening. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you our Teacher Specialist for Science, Mr. Craig Freeman, Ms. Heather Greer. And Mr. McDonald is not able to be with us this evening, and I truly regret that because this would be his final board presentation. He is retiring effective January 1st, and we wish him well. And at this time, I'm going to bring up the presentation to be delivered by Craig Freeman and Heather Greer.
As Dr. Johnson said, my name is Craig Freeman, this is Ms. Greer, and tonight we will be going over with you some of the new things that we're doing in science for the school year 2013-2014. Pretty much, we're going to talk tonight, we're going to give you our overview of our focus for this year. We're going to talk about the alignment of the written, taught, and tested curriculum, and also we will end with our instructional innovations.
Keep going. We're working on a technology end of things here.
And all of our technology people are in the library.
Well, pretty much, our primary focus in science is on hands-on and inquiry. We want our students engaged in designing experiments, not just doing labs, actually designing them. And that is our key area of emphasis for this year. We feel that if the student gets to the designing phase, then they can accomplish anything. Secondary to that, as opposed to inquiry, with our written curriculum, we have revised all of our curriculum guides to match the new 2010 standards so that our content is aligned to the SOLs. We have, trying to do it from memory here, hang on a sec. We have our pacing guides, our curriculum guides, and our content standards all match. And for those of y'all that are familiar with our content, we have a learning plan, and we went through and gave new content resources to our teachers to match the new science standards. For our written curriculum, our textbook adoptions all line up and match with the 2010 standards, and we revise our curriculum guides. Focusing back, let me backtrack to the instruction focus. We use technology regularly in science, and we use Pasco Sparks to collect data, and we are very instrumental in iPads and are on the forefront of that. And I'm really glad you guys did that one-to-one initiative, because that's going to help us out tremendously. For our taught curriculum, we continue to offer just-in-time training. And what just-in-time training is we look at data and we find areas that could use improvement, and we develop workshops and PD for the teachers to help them get over that hump on those skills that need a little bit of help. We help teachers do the hands-on activities that we're encouraging them to do. We'll go in and model a lesson with them to make sure that the content is taught correctly and is rigorous enough and aligns to our curriculum. And then over this past summer, we did several professional development sessions geared toward the new standards and the new skills and content that we are focusing on. And I'm going to turn the rest of it over to Ms. Greer.
Hi. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. We also have changed several, we also have some wonderful new things in terms of addressing assessment in science. Along with the other three cores, we had also noticed that science had become a moving target, and that one of the things that had added more rigor to the SOL into the course tests were the technology-enhanced questions. And so to address those needs, we have added over 300 TEIs, an abbreviated version, technology-enhanced items, to the IA question bank. So when teachers create their own quizzes and tests in the classroom, they can go directly to the questions that we have right there in IA. Our power quizzes, we're slowly but surely modifying those over to TEI form. The first 9 weeks benchmark had 3 TEI questions on it to start off with. The next 9 weeks, or second 9 weeks benchmark, will have 4. The third 9 weeks will have 5, building up the students' comfort level with these particular types of questions. In addition, the science department created videos for PD 360 to teach teachers how to actually make questions on their own. And this is for all types of technology-enhanced questions. The drag and drops, where the students are pulling the items from a list and putting them in position in a particular diagram. The hotspots, which tend to be very difficult because if you pick one answer and there's supposed to be 3, that question is marked wrong. So therefore, it gives the students much more practice with that style question, and of course the fill-in-the-blank style. So our video PDs have addressed that particular, to teach teachers how to do that particular type of skill and create those TEIs. And also, during our instructional leaders meetings, we have been addressing the need to incorporate these items with the students. Now, as we develop new classroom materials, we'll use the Promethean boards and the Active Inspire software to model TEI style questions. So they're doing it right there in the classroom. Now, in November, we attended a training with Dr. Garris, I almost had that, okay, with Dr. Garris from William & Mary, and enlightened us on how to build table of specifications for our division-wide assessments and for classroom assessments. And so we've been taking our benchmarks and putting them into these table of specifications to make sure that our test items not only have face validity, test the item in the SOLs, but also are targeting the level of learning that they need to target as well. And so we're in process of doing that with not only the benchmarks, but the power quizzes as well. So that leads us now to the very last slide of our presentation this evening, and that is our instructional innovations, my personal favorite. And so, yes, the life science students all have the iPad cards in their classrooms. The teachers have been working very, very, very hard on implementing and rolling out the digital textbook eScience 3000. And we went through the process of creating the rosters so that every child had a username and a password. Each teacher was given Lexile levels for their students so that they could modify the text for each and every student's reading level based on what they had scored on the SRIs that spring. We had also, as you see from our photo here, the students are now, they use the earphones if they would like for the text to be read to them versus having to read silently. They have those choices now in the 7th grade life science classroom. The students, not only, they've had a very good response in terms of the students enjoy the fact that they are able to explore this reading material. And what I mean by explore is that they see a diagram, they can touch it, it brings it up closer, brings a caption, brings a little bit more information for the student to read. Within the text, they're putting their notes right there in their textbook, the Achieve 3000. The reviews, they're practicing not only multiple choice opportunities, but also drag and drop, TEI opportunities as well. And so we've been very pleased so far with the student response to the iPads and to the Achieve 3000. So, have a short, maybe quick demonstration, a little overview here of some of the exciting things that have been happening. Thank you. Sound? Oh, yeah, there we go. We have to have the dramatic music. Hopefully that gets you all excited about your December 18th field trip.
Very excited.
That was the trailer for your field trip on December 18th. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board
You
members?
don't get to escape this
Yeah.
quickly.
Ms.
Heather, could you, I appreciate the comments and the explanation about the 7th grade electronic textbook, and that's very exciting. But in our work sessions, we've had the benefit of demonstrations and information about all the electronic science measuring tools that are available to students, because you were talking about having students be able to set up their own experiments. They have real wonderful tools to be able to do that, and I wish you could comment on that, and also a little bit about how teachers can use PD 360 and what that means, because we throw out acronyms here that you're familiar with, and everybody is like, well, that's nice, whatever that is. But professional development is the most important part of the growth of any organization, and PD 360 is a real great tool for that.
To address the first question, each school has a set of handheld electronic, we call them Sparks. These are digital data logger devices. You can plug any style of probeware into these devices. And so for the first 9 weeks, teachers all across the division were using the probeware and the sensors in that SOL to encourage students to say, okay, here's how this device measures. Here's how the display looks. What are some of the what are the independent variables that you can come up that we can measure and create their own research projects? For example, we had several classrooms design sleeping bags with Ziploc bags and various materials, and they were doing design projects based on what they had with the Sparks, and using the insulative properties and measuring how things cool down quickly or how they heated up slowly. And so the teachers throughout the division have been using Sparks. Spark also is an app for the iPads as well. So we're not limited to just the handheld data log device, but we can also plug in the sensors to Bluetooth devices that also talk to our iPads as well. So as the one-to-one initiative comes online, that's going to actually expand the use of our sensors and probeware to measure and receive data. And one of the things that I really like about this equipment is that I can get data in a matter of seconds few minutes. And then that allows me, the student, to analyze my data, and we can, instead of spending valuable instructional time getting data, we're now spending that valuable time analyzing, for chewing on that data and developing conclusions. And so we're very excited about, having that ability. Now, in the second part of your comments, the PD360. PD360 is a web-based professional development portal. Each teacher has, of course, their username, their password, and they go in and they can select what type of videos, blogs, resources to help them hone their craft and their teaching and get new strategies. And so that's why we chose this particular platform to deliver the PD, because I can access this from the comfort of my own home. I can access this after school, after the students have left. It's just one more way to get the message out there. We also have been working one-on-one with teachers as well in IA and developing questions for those teachers that, hey, I need a little more face-to-face time with this. And so it's just one more avenue to reach our audience. So, thank you very much. You're welcome.
Mrs. Smith?
Just one quick question. You talked about how the students are responding to the iPads and the mobile devices. How are the teachers responding to it?
The teachers have been fairly enthusiastic about bringing Achieve 3000 into the classroom. And I know this because as a district administrator, I'm receiving lots of feedback on various aspects of the Achieve 3000. Okay, for example, how do I do this? I've experienced something that's a little unusual here. Heather, what can we do to work with this particular aspect of the program? And that's the kind of feedback that makes me realize that even though I can't be there in the classroom with each and every one of my 19 teachers, I know that it's being used. And so that gives me a great deal of, encouragement that the teachers are embracing the Achieve 3000. They're embracing also the wide catalog of apps that are the free apps that we've downloaded onto the carts, and doing a wide variety of hands-on activities with those apps, because there's literally a world of apps where we can collect data and graph data. We can, there's several different types of content apps for the students to explore. And during review time, there are also the opportunities, for lack of better words, gamification of some of the material. In other words, there's several apps that turn like how cell parts, organelles, and other types of science content into games. And the students and the teachers have been very excited about those particular aspects of using the iPads in the classroom. So it's been a really fun 4 months.
Well, that sounds great. So they're getting to pull some more creativity into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
Matter of fact, I have one of my teachers right here, Miss Susan Booth, had her students actually creating claymation cells, and the students actually created movies of the cells undergoing the process of mitosis. So we've seen some extraordinary things happening in the 7th grade life science classrooms this year.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. More good stuff to come.
Awesome. Other questions from board members, comments? Okay, thank you all very much. I will say, I'm a Girl Scout and I've done a lot of camping, but I don't think I'm ready to sleep out in a Ziploc bag yet. You might want to work on that project.
Well, we found the right stuffing.
There you go. Super. Thank you all very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Shiflett?
Our next report concerns, as you may have seen, a lot of activity going on throughout our school division and doing some upgrades to our buildings and facilities. So the next report is a CIP, a Capital Improvements Projects update, and we'll focus on many of the projects that were begun in the summer. Dr. Hellman?
Thank you, Dr. Shiflett. I don't know how to say what I really want to say, except it's really a joy to be here tonight before you and have the opportunity to have Mr. Sawyer share with you some of the changes that have occurred over the summer. And I think you'll be as impressed as I am. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sawyer.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson. How are you this evening?
Great.
Good.
Evening.
Members of the board, Dr. Shiflett, and staff. I always say it's my privilege to be here, and it is a privilege. I represent a lot of people, and tonight we'll see some of these significant capital improvements that have taken place since June. And a lot of people share in this, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm the spearhead or the leader of the group, because you could look at Dr. Hellman, you could look at Susanna Scott in finance, you look at procurement department, the DLT, our superintendent, and in our shops and our administrative staff and the operations and maintenance department help out. So there's many people who participate in these improvements, and I'm one of many, and I'm again privileged to be here. And we're beginning our presentation this evening, and if you recall, this is Barron Elementary, or a fundamental school, I believe, that we had a ribbon cutting last year. And before we go into the actual slide presentation, every year we know we disrupt staff, student, teachers, and administrators. There's no question about it. And one of our goals is in September to have the projects at least significantly or substantially complete in terms of use and safety so that the school may operate efficiently as planned. However, there are occasions due to many circumstances where that's not possible. And so I don't normally identify or recognize individuals, but tonight I am, because we had two projects in particular, one Aberdeen Elementary, excuse me, and the other is Cary Elementary. And we have both principals here this evening, and that's Ms. Carla Young from Aberdeen, principal, if you may stand, be recognized, and Ms. Hattie Brzezinski at Cary. Again, these projects, unfortunately, were not completed in September due to a number of circumstances, but I could not have asked more for this leadership and management of what was a total disruption. In the case of Aberdeen, if you've ever been at a arrival or dismissal at a school, it's kind of organized chaos with a number of buses in school, or in cars. But somehow Ms. Young, and I don't really know how she did that, without incident, at least as far as I know, has managed to control all the traffic and the pedestrians and kids that were ongoing. And you'll see in just a few minutes the improvements that occurred at Aberdeen. Likewise, Ms. Brzezinski at Cary, we obliterated her front entrance. That's usually recognized as a primary point of entry to a school. And so she likewise performed some miraculous management and crowd control. And I'm very appreciative, because that's something we tried to avoid at all costs. But this year, unfortunately, we were not. But we're pleased and thankful we have administrators like the two you see before you. So thank you very much. Dr. Hellman will begin with the Aberdeen Elementary School improvement, which was basically a parking lot improvement. If you recall, this was representative of the parking lot area on the right side of the building, which is essentially a dead end. We have since gone into a concept where we have a student drop-off and arrival where we have a loop. And basically we tried to segregate the, we're moving pretty fast here, segregate the buses from the private and personal vehicles. And hopefully that's working well. We've used this concept in a number of schools, and so we were pleased. What you do not see is we likewise did paving on the front and added parking on the left side of the building as well. Second project is at Armstrong Elementary. As you know, was a 1922 building. This was a roofing project, and Ms. Stovall has been very accommodating in working with us, as well as the rest of the staff. This is an overhead shot where the roofer had has planned to work on the kindergarten section. We're up on the third floor, which is probably at this point 98% complete. So that project is long overdue, I might add. You've heard me talk about earlier in the spring, we've talked about electronic access control to schools. And since our last report, several major things have happened. We received a state grant that probably Dr. Hellman or Ms. Scott could comment on further, but basically it was a $100,000 grant, matching grant, I believe, was not? 25,000 match with 100,000 we received from the state. So we have since started the installation of the electronic door access control, which essentially locks down our buildings, as we told you in the spring. And you see a group there ready to go into, that's at Moton Elementary, or Moton Early Childhood Center, I'm sorry, which has audio and video component built in. The doors are magnetically locked, and the office has a similar station inside so they can visibly see and hear the person at the front door. So to my knowledge, we haven't received any problems. We're moving forward, and I would like to think by spring break, all our schools will be completed. Hampton High School, really we should take our hats off to Charmaine Grove, the principal there, because we totally demolished the second floor of that school. It was over 30 classrooms, and on the first floor, we did the band and chorus area. Included in the renovation project included some roof work, and you can see how labor-intensive that is, where they have to tear off an old roof. But the main thrust of the renovation was air conditioning, and this is a look at the new roof that occurred in that area. But the air conditioning went in over 30-some classrooms, including band and chorus, and this is a rooftop unit being installed over the band area. This is a look of a 1958 classroom as it was built at Hampton High School before the renovation occurred. And during the process, this is an old air conditioning unit that's in the process of being removed. And the improvements continue with new, we removed the old floor tile, old ceilings. They're in the process of putting down new floor tile now. The contract painters, proud of their work, took a moment to pose for this picture after painting all the classrooms, and you'll see a new unit behind them. And this is what you'll see today if you go into the 1958 classroom at Hampton High with new ceiling, lights, sound systems, of course, the Promethean board, which we can't take credit for. But it's a complete makeover. The units, they're vertical as opposed to horizontal units, and give more wall space. So we were very pleased, and again, that was over 30-some classrooms. So we thank Dr. Grove for her patience and leadership at Hampton as well. Moving on to Jefferson Davis Middle School, again, that's another old school, and a project identified in there was the boys' locker room. If you recall, we had done locker room renovations in every school but Davis, and in the boys, we had several problems. Could we go back just for a moment on that one? If you look in the very back of this slide, you'll see a gray petition. That actually is the bathroom for the boys. So a couple of problems. It's no privacy, and also it's not ADA compliant, and it creates supervisory problems as well. And plus the lockers on the right are actually a petition, so again, there was further problems with supervision. So we did, working with the school, we performed some renovations in there, starting with the construction of an approved restroom to provide the privacy and the ADA access that they required. And the finished product of the restroom, which is straight ahead. And you'll notice the lockers are gone on the right side, so we basically have one wide open space now, so it's much easier for the staff to control the students in there. We do have a new floor scheduled for spring break. We weren't able to get it for the Christmas, but it'll have a new epoxy floor scheduled in the spring break period. Moving on to what's called the sixth grade area, which is in the rear of Davis. For many years, this center portion was a kind of a self-contained multi-use, and the principal and administration felt it was problematic for a number of reasons, so they had us move it and created this open space which made a number of opportunities for the school. I think last year we reported restrooms were a high priority, and they continue to be restroom improvements, and we're using a combination of contract in-house staff to perform this. And that's essentially a finished look in the boys' restroom. We worked at Kickotan. We did extensive work at Bethel, and we're going to continue our efforts throughout the division. And moving on to Phoebus High School, a challenge turned into an opportunity. I think Ms. Henry probably can recall leaks in the corridor around the auditorium for a number of years. And to get to that area, it really required excavation because you had the berm where you had some penetrations through the wall, conduits and the like that allowed water in there. So while we did that, we took the opportunity to put steps for an emergency exit. That was an emergency exit which never had steps, so the students would leave that second floor area, but you basically had to slide down the hill to get to the ground level. So that's the new concrete steps and stairwell that was put in. So we've corrected the roof leaks and some drainage issues by the hallway outside, and at the same time put the steps in for emergency exit. A roof project, which another was at Eaton Middle School. Last year we did phase 1, so we moved on to phase 2, and this is a shot of the roof is nearing completion this summer at the rear portion, which is basically classroom area at Eaton Middle School. Over the libraries, we have raised glassed areas referred to as skylights or clear stories in a number of different ways, but typically it's a clear story. So they're preparing now to install the new material over that area and new glass. And looking at Ms. Brzezinski's school, this was John B. Carey Elementary as it appeared just a few months ago. And we're following the same idea we did at Barron, and this is without breezeway. So we have a before and after during the demolition phase. We've been very pleased with the contractor. They're moving forward with a new floor or slab, and they're starting to put in door frames and window frames on this particular slide. To accommodate the student or the relocation of students, we added a new sidewalk to provide a side door entrance. Probably not the best of circumstances, but it did provide an alternate way to get in the building. And as work continued, you'll see the masonry in place and more framing for the doors and windows. And as we near completion, interior shot, with the exception of the drop-in ceiling tiles, that's in the flooring, the walls and glass are in. And this shot actually occurred about probably two weeks ago. So we are very near completion. So we're very pleased with that project. We did other roofing projects, and let's see, Sims Middle School. And, well, okay, we're going to talk about the auditoriums in this one. As you know, we're doing auditorium renovations throughout the division, and this summer we took on Sims, or Spratley and Sims auditoriums. So this is before shot, again, 30-year-old wooden seats, dull lighting, no acoustics at all. I like this slide. It gives you some idea of the extensive work that's required to do those ceilings, which that's scaffolding. All the seats have been removed and total scaffolding. Now we move forward with the lighting upgrades and the new seats being installed. They're actually adjusting lights in this particular shot. And from the stage looking toward the rear, we have a projection booth in the rear, which has dual controls for lighting and audio, so you can do it at the stage or the projection booth itself. So we have some dates set, and I think I can report confidently the our Christmas programs will continue or take place as planned. So we're very pleased that the contractor and architect team were able to make that happen for us. Lighting and energy conservation continues throughout the division, and I just put this shot in here. That wasn't planned. Energy conservation continues to be big. As you know, we have a partnership with Synergistics, and I think Dr. Hellman's group has already reported on the success to date. And lighting, of course, is a big part of it. And this particular slide, we've reduced the lighting in the gym alone by over 50%. So we actually increased the level of lighting and reduced the amount of wattage being used. So and that was done by in-house people as well. Hallways, another area where we tried to improve the aesthetics and lighting in hallways. So this slide, a contractor is in the process of replacing ceiling tiles, and here you'll see the finished product. Again, reducing the overall light consumption, but providing a nice, well-lit area. Sims also, while we did the auditorium, had roofing, which is phase 2. Last year we reported Sims phase 1 roof would take place, and we are wrapping up as we speak the roofing at actually Sims and Lindsay Middle School, we're completing Phase 2. We embarked on some asphalt repairs in various places throughout the school division. The upper left is Cooper. Cooper, for many years, basically had one entrance, one exit. So we work with the traffic engineers in the city of Hampton and our architectural team, and we've designed a second exit to get in and out of Cooper, and hopefully has relieved some of the congestion that typically takes place. Asphalt repairs in various other locations from the rear of Hampton High. Jones, upper right, Dr. Bolin, I think, has created, I wouldn't call it satellite parking, but I think it aids the drop-off, well, maybe not the drop-off, but the pickup in the afternoons to try to relieve the traffic off of Andrews Boulevard. And, of course, the delivery area at the rear of Bethel High School has been repaved. And we did other jobs as well at Bassett and some work at Sims. So very busy during the summer on asphalt repair. That's not all. We have a lot of things on the burner, as they say, projects that are in progress with design, and I won't read every one of them, but as you can see that classrooms and roofs and windows, which windows would be basically something new we've not done in quite a while, but if you recall, we recently had an engineering study done, and they identified that window replacement is a high priority item. So we've engaged an architectural firm to do a couple of schools, Tucker Caps and Phillips Elementary. So that's, in fact, that design is probably 98% done, be my expectation right now. So again, there's a number of things we're looking at throughout the division, a lot of factors that influence construction dates, but we're excited and we want to continue moving ahead. So that concludes the presentation this evening. I apologize for the technical and mechanical mishaps. But I'll be happy to entertain any questions from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. Questions from the board members? Mr. Harper?
Just a couple comments. You always do the best job with the least amount of bucks, and I always encourage you to be able to show City Council where money is being spent to make improvements. Those curtains, auditorium curtains are, excuse me, they're asbestos projects, asbestos removal for the auditorium curtains.
No, sir, no asbestos curtains in those auditoriums, no.
The old ones were at one point.
At one point they were, yes.
The projects that you have to do, there are asbestos removal situations.
In some cases,
so
yes.
There's improvements, curb
yeah.
appeal, interiors, asbestos removal,
right.
on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I always commend you, Tom, for the job, the work that you do with your crews. It's amazing.
Well, safety and environmental concerns have to kind of preempt everything else to make sure they're identified and the proper remediation takes place.
Ms. Young, parent back to school night 2013, is she still here? Yeah, there she is. It's got to be memorable in your mind. I think we had back to school night and football practice and cheerleader practice and on and on and on. So thanks for a job well done in being the kind of CEO that we need to run our schools. So, thank you again, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Harper.
Other, Mrs. Henry?
Yes,
Mr. Sawyer's a happy man lately. I remember 15 years ago when he was trying to make bricks with no straw, and he would go around to schools and say, I know you have this and this and this that needs to be fixed, but we can only fix one of them. And we really appreciated the City Council in the last 15 years that has provided the much, much needed money. We have so many buildings that were built in the 60s, majority of them.
Yes.
And that's more than 30 years old, Tom.
Yes.
Those auditoriums are more than 30 years old that we're replacing. And we really can't replace 20 buildings. We can't build 20 new schools. So it's really important to be able to have the expertise of your own staff and the coordination that you pull off to get all this done, because it makes a difference to students. It feels good when you go into a new building, and that's my school, and I'm proud of it, but it's nice to be able to go into a new auditorium at Hampton High School and feel proud of it, and a new hallways in Kickingham High School and feel proud. And so it makes a difference not just to people who visit our schools, but our clients, our students who are in there every day, to be able to feel proud of their school and to know that we're doing everything we can to improve it as quickly as you can. You can't do all the work in the middle of their school year, but I appreciate the work, and a lot of that goes back to your developing our own craftsmen within the city by your apprentice program that you've had for so long.
Well, you can take credit for at least one.
Well, he did that all on his own. But yes, it's been a long labor of love for you, and we really appreciate the dedication you've given to the division.
Thank you, Ms. Henry.
Other comments or questions from board members? Mrs. Phillips?
I had one question, but
Yes.
I too have to say you certainly know how to make lemonade out of lemons, and it is very much appreciated. I did have one question about the bathrooms, because I know you're going school by school. Are you like doing a set of bathrooms in one school, in each of the schools, and then you're going to kind of rotate back around and go through the others? Is
Yes.
that what I've seen?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Well, it was one exception, and that was Bethel High School, and there was
Yeah.
some other issues that came up that kind of forced our hand there, but you're exactly right. We are trying to do the restrooms that are most commonly used. Typically, it's up front because it's not only the students, but visitors, parents use that. So that's kind of been the thought process. And yes, that's what we'll continue probably.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything further from board members? Mr. Sawyer. Thank you so much, Mr. Sawyer, for your presentation.
Thank you very
As
much.
always, we're in awe of the work you do in a very compact period of time. This time it stretched out of the summer a little farther than normal, but things are looking great.
All right. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you for your work.
Okay, good evening.
Dr. Shiflett?
Our last report for the evening is our business operations and our monthly financial update. Dr. Hellman?
Thank you, Dr. Shiflett. Good evening, Ms. Mugler, Mr. Kilgore, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure tonight to present to you the financial statement for the period ending October 31st, 2013. We are right on target for the school year. Our ADM, we're projecting to be about 37 students less than budgeted. So we're looking at maybe $200,000 there, which we can certainly absorb through attrition. Our revenues are coming in as of the period ending October 31st. We received $51,153,210. And then on the expenditure side, when you look at expenditures and encumbrances, we've expended $50,278,718. We're about 25% of our budget expended for the period ending October 31st. So everything is tracking well. We don't really anticipate at this point any changes. We will know more when we get the caboose bill from the governor, and then we'll certainly be in a much better posture to begin talking to you about the 14-15 budget when we come back to you at the work session in January. But if there's any questions on this specific statement, I would be more than happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Hellman. Questions from board members? I think it was crystal clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Shiflett?
That concludes our reports.
Thank you. We'll move now to the hearing of any delegations, a presentation of any written communications or petitions. Speakers are required to limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes in accordance with School Board Policy BDDH. Ms. Bowers, would you please share the public comment protocol?
Citizens are invited to address the school board on matters of public concern about the school division. Speaker forms are available prior to the start of the meeting. If you wish to address the school board, please complete the form and give it to the clerk. Each individual will have 5 minutes to speak. All comments shall be directed to the school board. Speakers may not yield their time to another. Speakers should address the school board with decorum on policy issues and refrain from personal attacks. Speakers shall not address matters involving individual employees or students, as these topics may violate confidentiality and are not appropriate in a public forum. The audience is asked to be respectful of all speakers. Public comment is the school board's opportunity to listen to the speaker. Since our purpose is to hear from you, the board will not engage in dialogue with the audience or whomever is at the podium. Matters requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent for research and response. The superintendent may report back on such matters at a subsequent business meeting session as appropriate. The school board carefully considers your comments as we decide matters that are brought before us. We appreciate your attendance and your input.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Our first speaker tonight will be Mr. David Dietrich.
Good evening, Mrs. Mugler, members of the board, Dr. Shiflett. My name is David Dietrich, 139 Wilderness Road. Tonight I'd like to start with school system safety. Parents expect their children's learning environment to be safe. They should not be concerned with bullying or other destructive behavior. They should not be concerned about dangerous people entering local schools. And they should be satisfied that school authorities can and are taking appropriate action. So I have the following questions for the school board. What has this school board done to meet our school security challenges? What is the level of exterior protection provided by school resource officers? How much interior protection is provided by school resource officers? To what extent are school administrators involved in school security policy? How often do teachers participate in planning sessions and practice drills? What other measures have been taken to improve school security? And when will you explain to parents what security measures you have taken? What does every child, every day, whatever it takes really mean? Moving on to school system engagement. Parents expect their school board to discuss and establish effective policy. They should not have to walk away from board meetings with no answers. Issues raised by residents should be addressed by the school board. The school board should not be some unaccountable government body. I have the following questions. What is the status of the 9-month-old school board blue ribbon panel? Well, when will the school board chairman be issuing recommended improvements? What is the timeline established for taking corrective action? Why won't you meet publicly with concerned citizens for an honest debate? Why are you so afraid to even consider acknowledging school system problems? Why won't you entertain real solutions offered by real people? When will you show a willingness to address your own accountability? What does every child, every day, whatever it takes, really mean? And finally, on school system results. Parents expect their children's education to increase their opportunities. Those opportunities should include both employment and higher education. That means they should have some idea of how their local schools compare. They should resolve to demonstrate superiority over other school systems. I have the following questions. How does this school board determine how well students are doing? Have you established a feedback mechanism with a broad business network? What are the employer requirements? What are the employer requirements not being met by Hampton students? Have you established a feedback mechanism with institutes of higher education? What is the level of remediation required by graduates of Hampton City Schools? How do Virginia standards of learning prepare Hampton students for life? And when will you explain to parents what our schools have accomplished? What does every child, every day, whatever it takes, really mean? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. Our next speaker is Ms. Gail Roberts-House, and she'll be followed by Daryl Winder.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson.
Good evening.
Members of the board, Dr. Shiflett, and staff. It is always a privilege to show affirmation and accolades for jobs well done. Resolution, a commitment to service. Whereas we, the members of the Coalition for Justice, are in good standing, wish to pay tribute to the 42 years of public service of a broadly committed and dedicated educator Joyce Brown Hobson. And whereas the word educate originated from the Latin word educare, meaning in order to bring an understanding, one must first care, in addition to having obtained knowledge and skill. And whereas Ms. Hobson epitomizes the word educator, as she loves to teach from a universal perspective, that everything in the universe must extract a balance, that a global citizen cares about his or her counterpart that lives in third world countries and or third world conditions here in America, that one's education is not only about where one will enter and succeed in the workplace, but equally important, one's education is about setting the standard for the next generation of one's family to aspire. And whereas Ms. Hobson holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Virginia State University, began her teaching career in 1971 as a physical education educator, teaching as an itinerant teacher, teaching under the supervision of 3 principals, 3 faculties, and 3 student bodies. The rookie teacher was lauded in her second year as a master teacher by the supervisor of elementary physical education, and whereas Ms. Hobson became professionally active as she also became the Hampton Education Association's representative of all itinerant PE teachers.
Thank you, Ms. House. Mr. Winder? And Mr. Winder will be followed by Terrence Moore.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am here to also continue and tell you some information about Ms. Hobson's legacy. Ms. Hobson began teaching and coaching at Hampton High School in the fall of 1974. She coached 3 major sports: girls varsity basketball, varsity cheerleading, and varsity track. As being a track coach, a varsity coach, and a basketball coach and a cheerleader coach, she worked hard and diligently to find scholarships and grants for her athletes to continue on the next level. Ms. Hobson's career has been a long professional affiliation. She's been critical in meeting with the Department of Education and the Virginia Schools and Acceleration Standards Program. She also is a current member of the Hampton Education Association, Virginia Educational Association, and the National Education Association. And over her career has been a member of the Virginia Health, Physical Education, Recreational, and Dance. She is currently an honorary member of the National Youth Leadership Conference for annually nominating numerous students for their academic excellence to represent their school districts and our nation capital. Ms. Hobson's classroom also always extend beyond the walls of the school. She was a founding member of the Hampton Crusade Voters and the Richmond Crusade Voters, and worked collaboratively with the United States Steelworkers Location 888 and with the African Political Reform Association, the state NAACP, and the ACLU. Me being a former athlete myself, played football and track at Phoebus High School for 4 years, I have seen how the coaches work so hard to find scholarships in school for the athletes to attend. And to do something like that, I was always amazed. And Ms. Hobson is a lady that I highly respect, got to know personally, and she's just a wonderful person. I want to thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Terrence Moore, and he will be followed by Sean Brown.
I'd like to say good evening to Madam Chair and to the members of the board. My name is Terrence Moore. My address is 1645 Pembroke Avenue. In continuance, whereas Ms. Hobson's classroom of political organizing impacted the community at large, local politics, local elections, historic first-time state elections, the historic appointments of an African American as chairman of the State Parole Board, first black judge of the city of Hampton, first-time elected mayor of the city of Hampton, Virginia's first African American Supreme Court justice, the historic win of Jesse Jackson's carrying the state of Virginia in 1984, the historic wins of Governor Wilder in 1989, the historic win of an African-American woman representative for the 92nd House of Delegate District in 1985, the historic win of Newport News' first Black House of Delegate in 1977. Whereas Ms. Hobson in 1990 appointed by the nation's first African-American elected governor, Governor L. Douglas Wilder, served as the first African-American woman to the nation's premier historic sites on the Jamestown, Yorktown Foundation Board. And in 1994, Ms. Hobson convened the 375th commemoration August 20th, the arrival, Jamestown, 1619, from African to African Americans, the first 20-odd Africans to British North America, which was attended by an estimated 7,000 to 10,000 from across the United States. This event facilitated diversity, sensitivity, and the final acceptance of multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial America since its inception, and resultantly, the foundation currently and proudly displays exhibits that depict the role of Africans in the making of America. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Our next speaker is Sean Brown, and will be followed by Mr. Rudy Langford.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Shiflett, and staff. Hampton High School, Crabber and Joyce Hobson was my 10th grade gym teacher. I'm particularly pleased to continue the last page of this proclamation. The proclamation. Whereas Ms. Hobson in 1993 through 1994 organized at the request of the community the Swiss Legal Defense Fund, a political grassroots movement known nationwide as the Allen Iverson case that resulted in Governor Wilder granting clemency to all of the 4 young men to attend college. And whereas in 2000, Ms. Hobson filed a historic document with the State Corporation Commission as evidentiary testimony and testified as the expert witness about the illegal sale and use of 1,000 acres of chartered land in Jamestown, Virginia, purchased by Elder Lightfoot, Solomon Mishaw, and prominent leaders of that era, Richard Wright, Mary Terrell, Mary Bethune, known as the National Memorial to the Progress of the Colored Race in America. That organization was supported by President Theodore Roosevelt and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. And whereas Ms. Hobson is a daughter of Deacon Royal S. Brown Sr., 91 years young now, and is a mother of a daughter, Winter, son, Brian, has a daughter-in-law and grandchildren, and is a proud sister of 3 siblings. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Coalition for Justice, thank and acknowledge Ms. Hobson's work, dedication, and commitment for 42 years to the noble field of education as a public servant who answered John F. Kennedy's call as not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Rudy Langford.
Madam Chairman, school board members, good evening. My name is Rudy Langford, and I'm here this evening on behalf of the Coalition for Justice and the State Board of Directors, and to present Ms. Hobson with a certificate of appreciation, that is well deserved. I would like to say that the Coalition for Justice and many citizens have been vigilant and observant of the landscape of the many accomplishments and distributions by Ms. Hobson. Ms. Hobson has been an integral part of educating our children to go into the world of technology and to compete. We have understood for many years of her involvement. And tonight, the Coalition for Justice and Civil Rights and this board and the entire education citizenry should respect her, represent her, and appreciate her for all the work she has done in educating our children. So, Ms. Hobson, on behalf of the Coalition for Justice and the State Board of Directors, we present you with this small token of our appreciation. Madam Chairperson, I stand here tonight not wanting to be here because I've stood before this board many times, the coalition supporting you in all your efforts and what you've done for our children. But I'm embarrassed this evening on the position that some of you took, 4 of you took, to terminate this lady, not based on anything but misinformation, and a better way could have been done to handle Ms. Hobson's situation. The 4 board members that voted no just happens to be the white board members. And the board members who voted no to terminate her was the 2 blacks. That perception does not sit well with us. I have called for a special meeting. If I seem to be a little down, because I am, I don't feel comfortable standing here because when I've stood before you, it's always been pleasant and support. I wanted to retire and go off in the wild blue yonder, but you have me back because in the coalition's opinion, this termination, in our opinion, doing an analysis of the fact, is based on class and race. Mr. Chairperson, what does your school board attorney mean when she says, you people? What does that mean? In the real world, that means the N-word. I am hopeful that we can work through this situation, but I want to be explicitly clear to you that this is not going away. The coalition did not ask for this fight. The 4 board members did. So you have a fight. I wish you all the luck in the world, and we will guarantee that Ms. Hobson's situation is not going away. Ms. Chairperson, I thank you, and the coalition respects you greatly.
Thank you, Mr. Langford. That concludes our speakers for this evening.
I'm leaving after our vote.
And we'll move on now to other items for action. Starting with item 7.01, revision of school board policy BDD, electric participation in meetings from remote locations. Is there a motion?
Move approval, Madam Chairman.
That was so unfair. No, I'm very hurt.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Anybody call me racist?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the revision of school board policy BDD, electronic participation in meetings from remote locations. Is there any discussion? There being none, Ms. Bowers, would you call for the vote?
Mr. Kilgore?
Aye.
Mr. Pearson?
Aye.
Ms. Phillips?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Harper?
Aye.
Ms. Henry? Ms. Henry?
Aye.
Ms. Mugler?
Aye. Motion carries. The remainder of our items on the action agenda are related to school board policy revisions. Is there a motion to approve those in totality, or do we want to take them one at a time?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve action item 7.02 through 7.09.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kilgore and seconded by Mr. Pearson that we approve items 7.02 through 7.09. those consisting of the revision of School Board Policy AC with reference to non-discrimination. Item 7.03 is the revision of School Board Policy BBFA, conflict of interest. Item 7.04, revision of School Board Policy GBACB, conflict of interest. Item 7.05 is the revision of School Board Policy IGCA, remedial and summer instructional programs. Item 7.06 is the revision of School Board Policy JBAA, section of 504, non-discrimination policy and grievance procedures. Item 7.07, new School Board Policy BF with respect to School Board Policy Manual. Item 7.08, revision of School Board Policy BFB, policy development, evaluation, approval, and dissemination. And item 7.09, revision of School Board Policy CF, School Building Administration. Is there any discussion? There being none, Ms. Bowers, would you call for the vote?
Mr. Pearson? Ms. Phillips?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Harper?
Aye.
Ms. Henry?
Aye.
Mr. Kilgore?
Aye.
Ms. Mugler?
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to deliberation, we begin with item 8.01, student fee structure. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I've asked Ms. Scott if she would present this item for you
Okay,
tonight.
perfect.
Good evening. As you know, the Code of Virginia requires that the school board approve on an annual basis fees that are charged to students for general items, co-curricular, extracurricular, various activities that they participate in at the school. We brought you such a list in September, and it was approved for the 13-14 school year. Since that time, we had a number of schools come to us and say that either they forgot about certain clubs or activities that they had that they wanted to be on the list, or in a few cases, we had new activities that were initiated that they wanted to be able to charge a fee for. So at this time, we are bringing forward changes. We did an all-call, last call, out to the schools and requested that they send in anything that they wanted to be added to the list at this point for the second semester of this school year. As you know, we want to make this part of our budget process, so really we will be doing this again very shortly to bring forward a list as part of the budget approval for the 14-15 school year. But at this point, these are changes that are for this school year to be effective with the second semester. All of the changes that were brought forward were extracurricular activities, and if you look at the item, the list in your board packet, you will see the items that are being added in blue. So they are all under the extracurricular clubs and activities. Basically, that's it, unless you have any questions.
Questions from board members? Okay, perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you.
We move on to item 8.02, which is hearing officers resolution. Are there any comments or questions from board members on the resolution?
I guess my question is, do we need to move this to action so that, or are we okay waiting for the next meeting?
You may do either. It can be moved up or left on deliberation. I went ahead and made it available so that you could vote, you could move it to action tonight, and if not, it will, the top will be changed, and it'll be, it will reflect that you did it on the next meeting.
For the purpose of the audience to understand what we're discussing in regard to the resolution, we've named a number of hearing officers to serve the division, and so their names will be incorporated into this resolution. They include Mrs. Kathleen Brown, Mr. Johnny Pauls, Ms. Jean Braxton, Dr. Mildred Sexton, and Mr. Eddie Antoine. In addition, we're adding the names of another group of individuals, Sally Andrews, Mrs. Annette Monroe Martin, Judge Isabel Atlee, Dr. Steve Staples, and Dr. James Tucker. Are there any questions or any other discussion on the resolution? So we'll be ready to take that up then at our meeting on the 18th.
Is there any reason why we don't take it up now? Did you say that or did I miss it?
There's no reason. I didn't have a motion. Moving along, but if someone wants to move approval, we can, or move it up to action, we can certainly do
There's
that.
no panic on it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we'll take that up on the 18th then. Item 8.03 is the revision of School Board Policy IKF, Standards of Learning Tests and Graduation Requirements. Are there questions from board members on this item? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item 8.04, new school board policy IKFA, locally awarded verified credits.
That must be coming down. I don't think I'm going to have comments after I get that.
Here you go, Butch.
We,
Mr. Harper.
we didn't want to make any more changes on board docs, so they
Understand.
are being handed out in hard copy.
Hello, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, Ms. Mugler. Just to, and I'll wait till all board members have copies in front of them. We are looking at policy IKFA, locally awarded verified credits, starting at the top with the legal reference. Your hard copy has a correction to the administrative code, 8 VAC 20-131-110B as in boy, .3. Under policy detail, beginning with what could be the third paragraph, to be eligible. If you look at the bulleted list, we have edited that last bullet, demonstrate achievement in the academic content through the appeal process described below. Described below has been added to that statement. Beginning with the section near the bottom of page 1, locally awarded verified credits as credit accommodations. In looking at this paragraph, next to the last sentence, meet all criteria established by Virginia law or regulation as listed above, which was a recommendation from Ms. Henry. And in conferring with Ms. Penny Peterson, the Director of School Counseling, she did advise me that everything on the bulleted list does apply to students with disabilities in addition to what you see listed in that paragraph below. So that's why we added the words as listed above. Moving to page 2, the appeal process, I did confer with Ms. Peterson. She has shared with me that we have been awarding locally awarded verified credits to students without disabilities or to all students who met the criteria on the bulleted list. And we do have a division level panel. So there is no panel at the school. All paperwork comes to the Director of School Counseling, the Executive Director for Secondary School Leadership. And as I shared with the board, the third panel member would be content specific. And Ms. Peterson shared with me that that content is driven by whatever the student issue is. So for English, it would be Ms. Hardy if she was serving in that capacity. And so those are the panel members. We can amend the policy to specify by job title that that is our policy. Our appeal panel is at the division level. So it is a consistent panel with the Executive Director for Secondary School Leadership, the Director of School Counseling, but they do go to the curriculum leader for the content area in question.
So that's why the policy says different panels may be appointed, but the panel is in fact a consistent panel. It's just the personnel may change according to the need of the
We
situation.
utilize VSBA language, but Mrs. Peterson said the practice has been the division level panel and that it will remain so with the inclusion of the locally awarded credit accommodations for students with disabilities. So we can amend this so that it is not open-ended and identify the 3 panel members if that is the wishes of the board.
I'd like to see it amended, personally.
I would too.
And that is our practice. So by amending this statement, the sentence will be that we have a division level panel consisting of the executive director for secondary school leadership, director of school counseling, and the appropriate curriculum leader.
I think if you just said a division, because, you know, it may be that the person you name is out that month for something. I think it's better to leave it open-ended as long as we understand it's a consistent division level panel, and the idea that it may be appointed, we're taking out different panels may be appointed for individual groups and students.
We're going to tie it to the job title of executive director for secondary school leadership, just director of school counseling, because those 2 individuals are intimately involved with and have a tremendous understanding of what is required for a student to earn those locally awarded credits, and then they do go to the appropriate curriculum leader for the content expertise. So we can name those titles. We don't put names in.
Right.
We do put in the job title. So whoever's holding that position would serve as that function.
That's fine.
Well, we will offer substitute language for the board to consider. And then one final edit in the next paragraph, the review panel will review information, the comma has been deleted.
All right, thank you, Dr. Johnson. Other questions or comments on this particular policy revision?
Thank you. Makes it much more clear.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We move on then to item 8.05, which is going to be the revision of school board policy LI, which is relations with educational accreditation agencies. Are there comments or questions from board members regarding?
After conferring with board members regarding the language in this particular policy, a hard copy is coming to you with the recommended edit. And if you just go down to the bottom of page 1, the last paragraph, you will see that the awkward sentence, the school board by the superintendent and chairman of the school board may, that has been rewritten to say by the superintendent and chairman of the board may also request that the Board of Education grant waivers. So
It's still a little strange.
It says by the superintendent and the chairman of the board, the school board may.
Okay, so the comma
sorry.
goes away, and it makes,
Sorry.
when the punctuation gone, it makes more sense.
I
Okay.
paused where I saw that.
Yeah. Okay.
Ms. Reeves would be, and I would be happy to confer again if this edit does not work.
And then you also edited out on the last sentence the suggestion I made about sex.
Yes. On page 2, the very last sentence, because it's about accrediting agencies, we stopped at the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which is the name of the agency. And we don't, per Mrs. Henry's recommendation, we don't know what they may call their school improvement arm at some future date. So we're just limiting it to the name of the agency, which is her recommendation.
Other comments or questions regarding policy LI? If not, we'll move on. Item 8.06 is the revision of school board policy JO, student records. Are there questions from board members regarding this policy?
Some of it is real weird, but it's the state code. I'm not.
Yes, it is.
All the bad writing relates directly back to state code.
We read it and to not lose the
Yeah, that's
intent,
fine.
it was not edited.
Actually, the definitions that you thought were too long are actually out of, it's federal law.
Yeah.
I noticed on page 6, there was a reference to the principal instead of building administrator. I know we've been aligning that language in most of our policies. I didn't know if there was a reason why we didn't do that here. It's the last paragraph, the first.
That actually, had not ever been changed, but we can certainly do the standard building administrator.
Okay. Any other questions from board members on this policy? There being none, we'll move on then to item 8.07, which is the revision of school board policy GCPA, reduction in workforce guidelines. Ms. Ruth, I don't know if anyone has questions with regard to this policy. I don't know if she's here tonight. She's not.
There were some minor changes in this one that did not make it to BoardDocs, so I'm handing out a hard copy. Those occurred on page 5, and they were really simply clerical. We needed to add a letter to a word, and we needed to make certain that the numbers were aligned. Under item 2, we needed it to read A, B, C, and D, not A, C, D, E. So merely clerical, but you have the corrected copy in your hand.
I was curious, on page 1, number 3, where it says direct questions regarding guidelines, why do we have direct in there? Why are we not just saying questions? I didn't understand what purpose that served us.
It was a recommendation from our Human Resources Executive Director, but we certainly can go back and revisit that.
Okay.
Actually, I can see how the error got made. It was direct questions regarding the guidelines to the executive director, but somewhere we added should be referred. So now we do need to take out the direct. That'll be done.
Okay.
I think you meant to, because that Q's been capitalized.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I noticed on page 7, it's next to the last paragraph. I don't know, somebody must have called in and edited on this one where they changed the word should. I was going to bring it up in deliberation that instead of saying should, we should say must. Someone wrote in here will need to. I think, personally, I think must is better.
Or shall.
Well, I think it gives an emphasis to the employee that they must provide that information, otherwise there's no other way to contact them if they don't provide it. So I think it should be direct and say must. Anything else from board members on this policy? Moving on, we're done with deliberation. We'll move on to deliberation first read. And we're going to start with the review of school board policy BDDA agenda. Who will be speaking to this policy?
I suppose it's ours, it's the board's.
Okay.
So this is simply a review so that we don't get behind in the timeline. And this is simply a last review. There were no changes recommended.
Any questions for clarification for Ms. Reeves on this policy? Item 9.02 is the revision of School Board Policy BDDF, voting method. Ms. Reeves?
Again, this is coming up so that we want to make certain that we at least review or revise within that 5-year time period. In this case, the Policy Review Committee suggested the change in that last paragraph so that it would make, it would make more sense that it was a subsequent tie vote defeats the motion, because it wasn't clear in your original policy. So that's all we're recommending.
Okay. Any questions for clarification on voting method policy? And the final item on deliberation first read is item 9.03, the review of School Board Policy GCBH, early close, early release guidelines.
The revisions were made simply to clarify some of the language with regard to what we're doing. There's nothing substantive. It's simply to try to make it read better.
Oh, my notes say there are no revisions recommended on the chart.
There's no substantive.
Okay.
But if you actually look at the policy, there's some language changes so that it reads more smoothly.
Okay.
Is that?
All right. Any questions for clarification?
I think that if you simplify some of those clauses and stuff, maybe some of the commas need to go away too. You might want to just look at that. For example, employees who choose to take the day, only a portion of day off will only need it. The comma that needs to go along with the pronoun that makes it a new clause.
Okay.
So
We shall do
I
that.
would just check the punctuation when you get all the glitches out.
Okay.
That concludes the deliberation first read items for tonight. We move on to informational items. Our next meeting of the Hampton School Board will be on Wednesday, December 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the Rupert Sargent Building, 1 Franklin Street. Dr. Shiflett, do you have any items for information?
I do have a couple. On Saturday, December 7th at Kecoughtan High School at 10 a.m., community members will have an opportunity to give input on the capital improvement budget by the city. And so it's very important for us to be able to give input on building improvements that we need within our school division. Also, for the 5th consecutive year, the Association of the School Business Officials have awarded the Hampton City Schools the Meritorious Budget Award. And so we're very proud of that award and pleased that our budget and finance staff has again been awarded that prestigious award. I have to tell you, today I went over to Armstrong and met with the faculty first thing in the morning, but then I was taken up to the second floor and was had a real treat going to the Armstrong Holiday Store that's run by the second graders. And it's a great opportunity for them to learn about producers, consumers, and if you get a chance, stop by. It's quite a delight. Last night, the United States Air Force Heritage Band performed a concert at Hampton High School, and it was amazing. A full house, and I just wanted to say a very special thank you to our military partners. You always help us bring in the holiday season. And then finally, on Wednesday, December 11th at 1 p.m., our own Dr. Leary will be giving an update to the City Council on our one-to-one project. we feel that it's important to keep them informed as to where we are in our pilot as we go through. So Dr. Leary, and I believe maybe another couple of members of her team, will be going over there at 1 o'clock at City Council chambers.
Thank you, Dr. Shiflett. Are there informational items from other board members?
I think I want to share something that Dr. Leary might be impressed by. She's always impressed by her teachers. But after we visited Phoenix pre-K through 8th grade school with the legislators, we had some wonderful experiences. So much that I decided I want to go back and see more. And went back and visited Ms. Giles' kindergarten class. And I know that parents of kindergarten students know pretty much what goes on in the classroom, but it's amazing for those who do not have a kindergarten age child to see what those students can accomplish in a classroom with that kind of teacher. And her energy and enthusiasm was throughout the lesson. And the Promethean boards, to see that age child go to a Promethean board and know how to operate the board and how to move figures around, find information, go to the next item, it was incredible. And those kids were just wonderful, and I enjoyed it. And I had a chance to see what you encourage teachers to do, and that is to incorporate different subject matter within a lesson. And it was a lesson on weather. And it was math, and it was science, and it was reading. And finally, they sang a song. So the arts came into play. And I thought about the program we had with teachers who are learning to play instruments, and there was background music. I'm going to maybe suggest to Ms. Giles that maybe when she learns how to play the guitar, she could provide the music, and that's another opportunity, to provide music along with learning. So I just want to say to you, I'd already shared this with Dr. Shiflett, but you were with us, and I want you to know that I went back, and Ms. Owens assured me that we can see that anytime we go by the school.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Any other comments or informational items from board members? If not, that concludes our agenda for this evening. I'd like to wish happy holidays to all of our Hampton City Schools students, faculty, and staff members for a joyous and wonderful holiday. So if there's nothing further to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned.